It's now 14 minutes after 7 Kenyan time. It's time for us to go on the way it is, or rather to look at the way things are. Well, on this section, in case you're joining us for the first time, we reflect and look at what has been happening politically speaking, and possibly looking at the picture just as it is. We call a spade a spade. Now, today we'd like to give you an opportunity to also participate via telephone, and we're going to be displaying the telephone numbers. We'd like to hear from you and what you have to say. But let me start by introducing the panel this morning, and to my extreme left I have Senator for Mombasa County, that is Senator Omar Hassan. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you too.
And Karibu Sana, I hope you had a good weekend.
Extremely good weekend. Kakamega on Saturday.
A lot of tear gas.
A lot of tear gas, and yesterday was equally a fairly good Sunday.
Okay.
Met a couple of friends, including Eli Dewalo.
All right, we'll come to that shortly. Next to me, I have Ambrose Weda, who is a lawyer. How was your weekend?
I thought it was very good. Saturday, I was in Kisumu.
Okay.
Then Sunday, I was actually preaching down here on the power of compassion.
What were you doing in Kisumu? You coordinating Kakamega from Kisumu?
No. I had gone to, on Friday, I was addressing girls at Nyakach Girls High School on time management. So I slept over Kisumu, but I had the chaos.
That was there?
I think there was too much cigarette. Which turned
into smoke. And there was a lot of scampering. Well, we'll come to that shortly. And later on, we're also going to be having Honorable Peter Kaluma, who is a member of parliament for Homa Bay, joining us as we are continuing with the conversation. But before we get to also matters politics, let's start with, first of all, 1 year after the Garissa attack. On Saturday, it was exactly 1 year after the Garissa attack. And let me start with you, Ambrose Weda, yes, on whether you feel that as a country we've made good strides, and whether we are healing, because sometimes we are very quick to move on from a conversation.
Yes.
And when we look back, when we're looking at some of the stories, some of the families are still crying with a lot of pain, obviously. And of course, the fact that some of them are even saying that to this day they're still waiting for compensation, which they were promised by the president himself.
I think in terms of moving on the basis of making the country safer, there has been some progress. We are much better than we were then. There has been, we have almost taken charge of security from the hands of terrorists and so on. But in terms of healing, it appears that we lack social infrastructure. And we have so many issues at hand that we tend to forget. So that these people, those who are involved in trauma, they have not had opportunity to be counseled, to be brought together. They were left to heal on their own. And sometimes it can be traumatic, can be very bad. Now, those who are talking about even compensation, it's not compensation, it's just a token, it's something to wipe your tears. It's not compensation.
Yeah, you certainly cannot pay for life, a life loss.
You can't pay for life loss, you can't compensate on behalf of the terrorists, but you can say, wipe your tears here, this is a loss for us as a nation. And if that has not happened, I think that needs to be followed up. But the way some people also swallow up money, you send them to take it to the victims, they deduct it. So there's
actually, there was one parent who was saying that if they calculate the amount of money, I think it was 11 million that had been given by, was it Japan? Then it would work out to 70,000 per family.
Yes.
But they only got 40,000. Some of them got 40, not all of them.
So maybe somebody was sent, I said, sign here that you got 70. If you refuse, go and protest.
All right. Let me also introduce Honorable Peter Kaluma, who has joined us now. Welcome, sir, and good to have you. But let me come to you, Senator Omar Hassan, on your feeling of how far we are as a country 1 year after the Garissa attack.
There's been a slight improvement because there's been quite a lull in terms of terrorist action so far. And that should not lead us to complicity. We must do everything reasonable and possible to ensure we maintain issues in the manner they were. But one thing that I disagreed with a lot of parts on the presidential State of the Nation address. But there's only one time when I thumped my feet, when the president acknowledged the sacrifices of one of the soldiers who's a Muslim. Not because he's Muslim, but it has a therapeutic effect in the sense that it says that a lot of us, across religions, lose our lives on account of terrorist action. Muslims have lost their lives. In fact, in Muslim countries, terrorist organization, ISIS, also for that matter, ISIL, Al-Shabaab, it kills Muslims. Then in non-Muslim countries, where we have diverse religious formations, then they try to excite religious animosity. But we've been stronger than that. So that itself, and then the interdenominational service at Garissa, attended by almost all leaders across the religious divides, was self-therapeutic. I think it's Kenyans have started to acknowledge. And that was our fundamental point. Don't victimize the Muslims as a Muslim community. Use intelligence to get to those people who are committing these acts of terror. Use all reasonable measures possible so that you leave the Muslim community intact, because they're an ally in the fight against terror.
Right.
And if you victimize them and they feel blanketly violated, then they run the risk of complicity. So I think that significantly has marked such a shift of strategy. And I want to believe that is a deliberate shift of strategy. It's not a coincidence at the moment. And for that matter, people have started to acknowledge they are Muslims who sacrifice. Remember the second Bandera attack? No, not the second, but there was a bus attack.
Yes.
Right.
Mike, in my constituency, I've lost two brave soldiers to terrorist activities in the country. When we had Westgate, we lost Jackton Puodi, who was the youngest, if you can remember the newspapers, reeling his name and photos. A platoon of soldiers came to Homa Bay for his burial. The usual 21 gun salutes, rent the air. And after that, his family is forgotten. Jackton was an orphan. Not even a house. We were doing a party structure for his burial, I remember. And nobody in Kenya, nobody in the armed forces is
Even if you call the GSU and the army, they know. So this one is to prevent Honorable Wetangulah from gaining traction, gaining a support of the lawyer community as a presidential candidate, which he can then use to bolt out the way Honorable Kalonzo bolted out with his people in 2007, the way Honorable Ruto bolted with his people, the deputy president from Raila's side to Jubilee. So this is the traction. He is actually the culprit. And that's why they are looking.
That even the chaos, he would have been aware.
Kabisa. In fact, he was monitoring from, in my view, he was monitoring from the airport. What has happened? Then he say, Orengo comes to pretend, we have heard their chaos. Which chaos? Then he already had the answers. Because he already had the answers where the senator here. Read the answers. Let me tell you, if Jubilee had promised, if Jubilee had said we are going to disrupt it, believe you me, on Raila would have been there to say, now I dare you. I dare.
on the matter. You see Wetangulah being enthroned very peacefully.
Correct.
Then a tear gas is thrown at the podium before he takes to the podium to address the people who came for his launch. Who is the keeper of tear gas? I don't know why we should be, going around such an obvious issue. Tear gas in the country, if you remember the security laws amendments we were fighting over in Parliament, was brought within the remit of firearms and ammunition. The sole keeper of tear gas is police, and there was a huge number of them there. So when you see tear gas being thrown, and Hassan does not see these people saying, "Are you through it?" Are you through it from where? Straight. The CORD leadership, particularly Senator Wetangulah, played into the propaganda schemes and machine of Jubilee. And
so what are you suggesting that it is Jubilee that was responsible for the canister?
Certainly. I mean, the chaos is arising with the throwing of the tear gas. The tear gas, Jubilee is the government. They're the keepers of the tear gas.
The same way we have somebody who could be having illegal arms, you could have somebody who has a canister illegally.
What does it say about the security arrangement within the Jubilee government if you were to take that position? It's obvious you cannot carry a tear gas canister to that crowd and there are all those police officers and you reach a level of using it.
Okay.
How do you throw tear gas? I'm not yet done.
Okay.
The world over, and I wanted to, urge caution on the part of our three principles. The world over, Mike, the launch of campaigns is a very solemn exercise. And that is why you see all candidates launching campaigns usually going to what would be their stronghold or neutral grounds. You've seen Raila launch in Nairobi a number of occasions because a neutral ground. President Uhuru does that. Kalonzo Musyoka did that last time. This time he launched in Machako. So you go to either your stronghold or a neutral ground so that you keep, the occasion very solemn. Wetangulah had a premonition, indications that there would be tension. And let us agree, in as much as this is CORD, the individual aspirations and ambitions of leaders like Oparanya, Wetangulah, and others, if they're going to mess up a neat thing that is within the CORD's framework of getting the ultimate leader, like a presidential launch within Fort Kenya, what would have happened is that, Wetangulah would have thought of where else to do it, because we've now played into the hands of Jubilee. And you see the smile of Weda. Propaganda is spinning all over.
All right, let me hear from Weda first.
Just before Weda comes in.
Let's hear from you don't make allegations. Every small thing, Jubilee. It is evident the records that the CORD coalition and its members are incapable of holding a peaceful meeting. Even their own elections, violence. Even now they are talking about violence.
Go through the
Before Wetangulah went to Kakamega, he was promised violence by his own CORD governors, maybe with the blessings from the CORD leader himself. So those cases, when you're talking about those canisters, tear gas canisters, Uganda, they are floating easily in Uganda. Somebody could easily pick it and bring it. But you know very well, those rallies, even the police cannot go there and throw tear gas because it is dangerous, very dangerous. We know that. But now you people are caught with your pants down. So you want everything Jubilee. Just tell the country that your side is so disorganized. You cannot organize credible functions. All you can do is to buy more firimbis, which we encourage you, buy them.
Well, let me tell you something.
Yes, Senator.
Any person can launch a presidential bid anywhere. If I decide today that I want to do my presidential bid in Kisumu, I should be able to do it. So, and nothing also, I can tell you for free, that both these two principles, Wetangulah and Kalonzo, will still do a Nairobi bid. Launch. They'll both do a Nairobi launch. So there's nothing, that was like a declaration or whatever it might be called. Anoint me, give me the powers, need to pay a matter so that I can go and conquer bigger ground. So they are both going to do presidential launches in Nairobi. Number two, I personally, I'm not Luo, but I have loved and supported Raila for the better part of my life, 20 years. I think he should not allow the likes of Oparanya to undermine his statesman stature. Should not be playing to trivialities of Oparanya. This one I'm angry. I'm going to be very honest with you. He should have attended that rally. He should have brought down Oparanya, told him, sit down here, we are going for this rally. And let me tell you why Oparanya created the circus that he created. He had tried to put together some people in orange t-shirts. The firepower on the other side was so massive. I've been to Musinda Milwero grounds about 4 or 5 times. That was the biggest I have ever seen. So the green and white overwhelmed. So his group, in fact, was actually, and from what I hear, was ejected because they started coming into a pool of other people and started singing Oparanya. So what happened is they were pulled out, they were kicked out. So I think when he realized that he had been overwhelmed, I started creating all these issues about how this is, at least by that particular day, he ran to Kisumu to try and reorganize himself. So I can tell you why I'm singling out is not to allow this coalition to play to the whims of individuals. You need, today I had to go and defend my leader in the Senate, Moses Wetangulah, who is also a co-principal of the coalition. It is only moral. It was not about Oparanya, it was not about Halwale, though if I made my own assertions about my preference, but doesn't matter. Ultimately, the people of Kakamega will decide who is their next governor.
Okay.
So for me, I am saying this, I support Raila on account of the principles he stands for. He should not allow these petty politicians, the governors who feel an entitlement to create this kind of embarrassment for the coalition.
All right, Honorable Kaluma, as much as you say that it's Jubilee, and that is really pure speculation, we've got no proof whatsoever, because to be very honest, the tear gas canisters are not Jubilee, it is police, which is meant to be independent. But anyway, that's a debate for another day. Now, given where we are, what do you think the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga should do to put his house in order? Because evidently there seems to be cracks. And this is as we prepare for 2017.
Let me tell our people that what happened in Kakamega was a local issue. And we knew it. I don't know why Hassan is not saying it. But the fact of the matter is that in as much as Ford Kenya, Wiper, and ODM are in a coalition, we are approaching elections. And those ODM, MPs, senators who are in office in Kakamega and Busia and others are seeking to retain their positions. There are rivals coming through ODM and other parties. And personally, I blame Wetangulah because he took what ought to be a very solemn event to an area where, people are already competing for seats and people are already angling so much in a manner that his weight as a leader cannot subdue it all. So that, let me say, there is no problem in CORD. Let me assure the CORD membership across the country that what is happening across the country is within the CORD coalition arrangement, that each political party will have a presidential candidate. You saw Raila do his, you saw Kalonzo do his, you saw Wetangulah do his, and then the respective leaders, presented as presidential candidates by the various parties will sit together through again an arrangement to give us a candidate. And let me say here, that if that candidate is Wetangulah, I can speak for Raila Odinga. We will support him, Raila will support him. And he has always said so. If that candidate is Kalonzo Musyoka, we will run with him. If it is Raila Odinga, we will run with him. What I'm warning our CORD principles is to avoid situations which put us into, the propaganda machinery of Jubilee. And they are very good at it. They are spending it now. I'm very sad Hassan Omar has fallen into it while he's watching Weather laughing through away.
You two seem to be in disagreement.
Yeah, there is nothing
one side,
there is nothing we need to put in order.
One side, one side he says CORD is has no problem. Then he has the audacity to blame Wetangulah. This is the contempt.
Isn't this just the problem we're talking about here?
No, this is the contempt. Men like Kaluma are treating the whole idea of the coalition in. Some of us are secretary generals of parties. That's why even after all this happened, we believed that our real adversary is out there. So when you start to blame Wetangulah for what? Because Halwale is running for governorship against what do you call him, Oparanya? So he should not be in a position. He should not be in a position. Let me take a call from Josephine Jerry, then I come to Weda. Hang on, gentlemen.
me take a call from Josephine Jerry. Would like to hear from Josephine. Then I'll people. Hang on, Senator. Josephine Jerry, good morning. Josephine Jerry.
Yes, here I am.
Yes, go right ahead. Please be very brief and get straight to the point.
Yeah, I want to comment on our leaders' utterances. I was a big girl during the Mau Mau War.
Okay.
I saw 1982 attempt of the coup. Please, whatever they say, tell them to be careful. We don't want war. Like the utterances of saying Jubilee is our enemy, like what Wetangulah said in Kakamega, that his government is not going to be that one of man, each man society. All those are Kenyan society, and according to my own analysis, those are incitement in a way.
Okay.
We don't want war. We don't want bloodshed. I'm 70 plus, and I hate to see blood. Our Kenyan people are very hardworking. Please give them space to work and earn a decent living. We don't want Rwanda in Kenya.
Thank you, Josephine. Thank you, Josephine. We've got your point.
Our leaders don't care for the man in Mashinani.
Okay. Thank you, Josephine. Josephine, thank you. I think I'll cut you short because I want the comments as brief as possible so that we're able to continue with the debate. Let me take a call from Ambwire in Kitale. Good morning, Ambwire. Ambwire in Kitale.
Good morning.
Yes, go right ahead. Please just go straight to the point, Ambwire.
Yeah, nasema hivi. Nasema hivi na kuhusu maneno yenye ilifanyika Kakamega. Sasa hao watu ya court, mimi sijapenda hiyo mambo wale wanafanya.
Okay.
Kwa sababu gani? Wao wanaleta mfurugano katikati ya chama, badala wakae chini watengeneze hao na wakuwe na abidement moja katika chama. Kitu kingine kama umeona ya kwamba huyu anataka kusimama, simuachie nafasi yeye pia na afanye mambo yake, kwa sababu Wetangulah hajawahi simama tangu.
Okay.
Umwachie nafasi hata naye pia ajaribu. Kama wale wengine vile wanavyojaribu.
Okay. Asante sana Ambwire. Let me take the last call from Kelvin in Mlolongo. Kelvin, good morning.
Yes, good morning, my friend.
Yes, go right ahead.
I'm Kelvin calling from Mlolongo.
Yes, Kelvin.
As in Hassan anaongea ukweli. Kaluma akidanganya watu. So far tunamsupport Raila, lakini kama ni makosa. Hapo Raila kukosa kuatendio kitu alifanya makosa.
Makosa gani alitenda?
Alifanya makosa kukosa kuatendio function ya Wetangulah.
Okay.
Kwa hivyo hapa Raila alifanya makosa. Hata kama tunamsupport, lakini hapo alifanya makosa.
All right. Sawa, asante Kelvin. All right, let's come back to the panel now, and I'd like to hear what your take is. You were shaking your head when Honorable Kaluma was talking, sort of disagreeing with what he had to say.
I think I'm disagreeing on the basis that it's like Raila can do no wrong. Yet, right, even they know Honorable Raila had promised in writing that he would not attempt to run again. And even if he was president, it was going to be one term. It was in writing, it is there. Now it's changing Honorable Kalonzo and changing Honorable Wetangulah on the basis that he wants them to know that he is the one who can win, he is the one who is popular. So when these people call their rallies and they realizes that it can show that they also have massive support, then they, with their friend Paranya, they're frustrated. Now that is wrong. That is very, very wrong. Bad leadership. And why is it so bad? Then you try to blame Jubilee. Oh, Jubilee has done this. Oh, Jubilee has done that. This kind of violence, the lady from Njiru was saying, you are speaking violence, practicing violence, doing violence. Every corner you are, violence. ODM elections, violence. Kakamega, violence.
Let me first assure Mama Njeru, she said she's 70 years. If she's listening, we mean the best for this nation. She can be rest assured. I am personally persuaded in my heart that there will be no violence. I think this is normal political contestations. When Wetangulah says man eats man society, it is a character way once Mwalimu Julius Nyerere characterized the Kenyan society with respect to corruption and greed. on another account, when we say it's an adversary, we are just trying to build internal unity within the CORD coalition.
But don't you agree with Josephine Jerry that from our leaders the language needs to change, not to polarize the country?
There's no doubt that we need to moderate our languages. But as I don't agree also with Weda. Don't contemplate what is in this little document. I have seen it. Yeah, so don't contemplate what is in this little document. There is a commitment about a one-term presidency. A commitment to a one-term presidency did not necessarily contemplate in the event that that presidency was not gotten. So I think that also, but that is also for us in the WIPE a basis for negotiations. And I can tell you one of the reasons why we have to be careful. Look at this headline today. Wetangulah says that Raila hasn't told me why he didn't come. So then everybody else keeps saying, starts speculating. Orengo says his own thing. The other person says their own thing. The other person. But as Kaluma, maybe I want to agree with him. Let the principals sit down so that we avoid these types of headlines. We avoid the skirmishes of Saturday. Because I also manage a party. And that party is also a vehicle for political competition. We are not going to suffocate our ambitions because there is a sitting governor anywhere. The same way we have no issues if an ODM candidate wants to run for governorship in Kitui, he or she is welcomed. If an ODM candidate wants to run for governorship in Garissa, he or she is welcomed. If an ODM candidate, all the areas where we have governors, you cannot expect us to retain status quo. You want us to go back into the same arrangement where WIPA comes with its 30 or 40 members and you come with your 200 members. Internally, there is competition, my brother.
I want to come to Honorable Kaluma, and I want us to change a little bit here because I want to hear what your take is on the State of the Nation address, and especially because you are on record saying that you will not attend. I don't know if you're one of those who managed to purchase a whistle, but you had said you would not attend. Did you attend the State of the Nation address?
I made a decision not to attend. I was whipped by the party to attend, and I left midway, though with my own honor. You know, Mike, a State of the Nation address is a very serious event. So serious it is in the Constitution, and the matters to be, talked or addressed by the President during, that occasion are also, stated there. What we have is a situation where year come, year go, the President has chosen to be addressing the nation from the floor of Parliament. By the way, there is no requirement that he has to do it from Parliament. And what is happening is that when you sit back struggling to match what the President is saying with the actions he purveys immediately leaves Parliament, you get a complete mismatch. The President comes and tells you Kenya belongs to all of us. And this takes me to what Josephine is speaking about. All Kenyans have a stake in the country. We must be there. But what does he do after that? Look at the state appointments, Mike. It is all central Kenya and a bit of Nandi because of the deputy president. Is it that our president does not know the boundary of this country or what is happening? Look at the resource allocation in the country. Mike, in a budget of 2 trillion and over, if you cannot have even just a 1 kilometer road in a county like Homa Bay, yet they are all paying taxes. What are you telling about the country? And yet you are launching projects in Rift Valley, Nandi area, and Central every time. We are saying the President needs to know that is to address the nation on how we are complying with national values and principles of governance. This include inclusivity, national cohesion, integration, transparency, accountability. Look at the realm of corruption, if I were to tell you. Why I'm saying there is discontent, I may disagree with the manner in which my colleagues, conducted themselves. But there is content. Mike, when you are told a country is losing over 600 billion to corruption, it is not small money.
Okay.
When you are told, Mike, that very country is spending more than half its revenue collection in a year in repaying debts, and you have a president running over and is telling you the country is doing very well, it is a crisis. And yet the president chooses not. Why I left midway is that I was listening to whether the president, is going to talk to the issues the Constitution requires. And he came with a speech called the Covenant, keeping the covenant, as if it is not himself to tell us what the government is doing about it.
All right, let me come to
he's telling us everything you believe there. I regretted, going in there. But I'm happy I left when he was talking of failures of devolution without seeing.
Okay, very briefly, we need to wrap up. Very briefly on
the sad tragedy that a sitting member of Parliament does not know the budget of this country. It has not reached 2 trillion, please. That's how rotten it is in that parliament. Secondly, allocation of resources, how they will be utilized, is done by the same parliament. They are the ones who do it. Take this to Homa Bay, take this to Kisumu, take this to Mwingi, but they have the habit of walking out or sleeping when these things are done, because they are concrete budgetary issues that require concentrated mind. They walk away, he walks away, then he doesn't know. Then
Mike, you are listening to a non-member of parliament.
Listen, I finished. Thirdly, State of the Nation address, the president is a constitutional address. The president comes and sets out what he has done, what is how it has been done, and where we are going. It is incumbent upon any basic parliamentarian to listen. After you listen, then you will have time to say that was hogwash, nonsense, because of 1, 2, 3. When you walk out, then you have delayed, you have jumped out of your responsibility. When you shout it down, then you are doing the very wrong thing. You must listen.
To cut you short because I need to just give him 2 seconds.
It was a repetition without follow-up. You tell us the last State of the Nation that you're going to set up an indemnity fund. You don't tell us how that indemnity fund has gone. So you're making new promises every other day without telling us, bringing to a closure the past indemnity fund. But in terms of process, the day before the State of the Nation, I raised on a point of order in the Senate and said that in democracies of our types, the State of the Nation address is shared to the minority or the opposition side in advance so that they can prepare something called a minority response. Every other time after Obama gives the State of the Nation or any other leader, you will see that either the Republicans or the Democrats, depending on the presidency, goes and gives a minority within 30 minutes or so that they give a minority response. So I think we need to set a tradition that we can be able to critique the State of the Nation in a manner that is qualitative. In fact, I'd taken so many points. That day, Wetangulah was already in Bungoma. In fact, that's why he told me sit on my seat.
Okay.
So I think we need to have a structure in which we cannot allow the president.
All right, gentlemen, we'll have to wind it up right
questions.
there because of time. Thank you very much, Honorable Peter Kaluma, who is a member of Parliament for Homa Bay, Senator Omar Hassan, Senator Mombasa County, and Ambrose Sweda, who is a lawyer. I'll just read 1 or 2 comments from Paul Otieno, who says that if many candidates come up with the party, then we talk of cracks, divisions, etc. So what do we really want as a country? I also have Jacob, who says that Raila Odinga did not attend the rally because he's got high IQ. Okay. That's his opinion, and many other comments which I shall continue reading as the show continues. Morning Express is not yet over, but we'll have to wind up the way it is right there. Thank you for your participation, but do stay with us. Remember, we've also got sports chat coming up later, but for now we'll take a short break. When we come back, we've got news.